Good morning. How you doing? I've come to talk about the podcast as promised, and I've just realised, I don't know why, I'm wearing the same shirt that I am in the podcast cover. So that's good, on brand for the podcast. So, welcome. I've got loads to share with you today. Morning. Thanks for joining. I'm about to hit a really big number on the podcast of 100,000 listens. Morning. Which feels, for me, a huge milestone. Morning. And I know there are podcasts out there. It's like, I had 10 million downloads in the first month, and that hasn't been me. Like, it's been a chug, keep going, have a baby in the middle of it. But we're there. We're almost there. I've just checked the stats this morning. We're just a few off, but I wanted to make this. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. So before I get into it, I've got something really special that I want to share. But also I want to give you some thoughts and some ideas and just share a bit of the journey, basically. Thank you. So, firstly, I want to say thank you. Thank you to you if you've listened, if you've shared, if you've sent me a DM, if you've subscribed. Like, honestly, there's no point me making any of this if nobody listens. And I make it because, thank you, I make it because I love it. I absolutely do. But when you get feedback, when you get people connecting with your content, especially when a lot of it is, the mini episodes, they're made from, so there's a loud, like, Trumpy motorbike out there. Brilliant. Especially when you make it from a personal place as well. I think this is the thing, and I think this is partly why it's been successful as well, because it is from a personal place and space. It hasn't been from a, like, just hustle harder, guys. I'm very much entrenched in it. Like, I feel like I've got a relationship with this podcast. So today in this workshop, I want to talk about ideas. I want to talk about creativity and things that I've learned along the way, which whether or not you would want to start your own podcast, I think might be useful for your business and brand. So here are 10 things. So the first thing I want to share is, if you can't keep having an idea about something, it's time to listen to it. Otherwise, it will keep showing up to see you again and again. And I've realized I've been listening to podcasts since about 2008, 2009. And I was listening to them on maybe an iPod and my Dell computer, which was a terrible piece of machinery that I owned. And so I've had a relationship for them for a long time. And then in 2012, I started to have an idea of, like, maybe I could do this, because this is the thing. When we think we want to have an idea about something, or whether we're getting that kind of calling to move forward, all our stuff can get in our way. And that was definitely the case for me. Like, who am I to make this? Like, I haven't got this and this. I didn't have that 90s thing of, like, I'm not married to a footballer. I'm not this. I'm not that. And I think I can hear Luna crying. Anyway, Matt's with her. But yeah, it's not just for women, but I think sometimes as well, when you're putting yourself out there, you can feel very vulnerable. You can doubt whether it's ever going to work and all of that sort of stuff. But I tell you what, I've learned this thing that if I keep having an idea, that I might come back. 1 second. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to keep going. Okay, morning. Thank you for bearing with me. Can you tell it's been one of those interesting mornings, hey? Okay, let's move on. So if you keep having this idea, pay attention to it. It's trying to tell you something. And sometimes the idea will keep popping up because it's something in your subconscious that you haven't dealt with morning, that you know that you're having this calling, but the logical side of your brain is saying like, oh, I'm not ready, I can't do this, people in my family have never done something like this, what technology would I use anyway, etc. But I always feel like when that idea is planted in you, that it's sort of there for a reason. It's like people who can just have the most amazing skills, and there's no rhyme or reason for being able to do that. It's like a talent in doing that. But question that idea, look at it, pay attention to it. It works on the opposite way. Like if there's something that you're not dealing with time and time again, or if you have a pattern or something going on, it will keep coming up again and again and again until you learn the lesson, right? It's one of those things. So with the podcast, of listening to many in 2008 and 2009, and then listening when I was doing a 3-hour commute a day, 3 days a week in sort of 2012, I was consuming a lot of content. I then had my son in 2015, and bizarrely, even though I felt completely and utterly like I'd been hit by a bus, and it's a really interesting moment now because I know some people have come to get to know me since I've had Luna, and it's been a very different experience in the way that I'm in it. But you know, the first time when I had Oscar, I was the first of my friends to have a baby, even though I was 33, you know, like I was a grown-up age. So podcasts and being at home were company for me, I guess, however sad that feels. And he wasn't a great sleeper, and I was listening to them as I was walking around the block, because he didn't want to sleep indoors, so I was walking a lot and all of that stuff. And what I was hearing was this very masculine, hustle harder, like, yeah, just do it kind of narrative. And that's where the idea came from, because I was like, surely, like there's another way to do this. I don't want to hustle harder. I don't want to have a website where things just flash up at people and you just feel like you're like, whoa. Like, I get the whole thing about digital marketing, but I know I've grown my business and my brand from conversations, from connecting with people. So that's been really interesting. So if you're having that idea of creativity, go with it, explore it, see what it is. The second thing that I did, which really got things going and off the ground, was I told people I'm starting a podcast. And the first few times I said that, I was like, oh God, that sounds awful. Why have I started saying that? It seems like a ridiculous idea. But I tell you what, once you start telling people, it starts to become a little bit more real. And then people start to ask you questions about it. And what that does is, and you have to do this, and just to kind of caveat that, when you have an idea and you start to share it with people, I've actually done a podcast episode on this, you have to be really careful about who you're going to share it with, because there are some people I know I have in my phone book, in my life, that I can go, I've kind of got this idea and I know it's got 10 elements to it and I've only got 2 of them, but what do you think? And those people in my life like know me enough that they can give me that nudge of like, it sounds great, it sounds like you know that you're making the right decision, because they can tell, they know me well in that way. And yet there would be other people who I wouldn't dream about telling them about what I'm doing, because they would have so many of their own perceptions, their own opinions. It would be a really backseat driver experience, if you know what I mean. So even though I'm saying share it with people, keep your own boundaries in place in that way, because especially in those early stages when you're not really sure what you're doing, you need to feel like you're really strong in the shaky foundations, because otherwise you can just be opening yourselves up to here, there and everywhere, and that feedback may not be relevant for you. But telling people was really important because it allowed people to get excited about it. So I'll talk about this kind of at a later stage, but by the time that I launched, I felt like people, like maybe 4 people, but like some people were ready. They were excited. They were there on day 1, like, I'm going to download now. Yay, it's gone live. And it felt like a celebration then. If you're just joining, by the way, I'm celebrating the fact that I've had 100,000 listens on my podcast. And it may not be big to many other people, but it feels really huge for me. So how many had you recorded when you launched? I think I had about 3 in the bag, but I've got other things that I will share in that way. So I talked about that in that way of sharing it with people who were going to support me. Also, by sharing, it revealed my own gaps. So people would say to me, so what's the podcast going to be about then? And the first couple of times people asked me that, I was like, oh God, I have no idea. I'm just going to like chat about, and I noticed my own vagueness. And this can happen with your own business and your own brand, that if people are asking you and you're bumbling around about it, and there's like no shame in this at all, this is all part of the process, right? And you can see as I'm talking, like none of this was perfect before I got started. It's not all perfect now. It's a work in progress. That's really important to say too. It's going to reveal those gaps in your business. So if you ever find yourself bumbling around and going, I don't really know how to explain what I do, that for me, when I have those moments, is a indication that there's work to be done. And come back. Thank you so much. So it's one of these things of, I know where my gaps are. So if I can't communicate the stuff, then there's work to be done. So telling people was number 2. Number 3, I mapped it out as far as I could. And sometimes there is this pressure, and I had a meeting with, this is another story, but I think it's important to the piece. So I had a meeting with an accountant yesterday, and I really wanted somebody who was going to support the growth that I'm having in terms of my business. And it was really interesting having that conversation, because so many people, when they think about a project or they think about starting a business, they get so caught in the nitty-gritty of the business plan, the 5-year plan, the exit strategy, even before they've entered. And it's too big in these current times where we don't know and we can't gauge how quickly the digital world is going. And sometimes when I notice in terms of clients, when they get so detailed about things, what they are not doing is they're not moving forward in terms of doing things that are going to collect the data. For example, people are really focusing on going, I've got to get all these things really beautiful on my website. I've really got to focus on these colors. Instead of showing people the colors and going, what do you think? Why would you buy that product? What connects you with that? When you're thinking about this product, what comes to mind? So they're not bringing it out to the front. So when I'm talking about mapping something out as far as you can, sometimes that is only, for me with the podcast, it was probably like the first 5 episodes. That's as far as I could go, because I was just like, I don't really know what this is. I certainly hadn't considered what it would be like in terms of doing mini episodes. I mean, I just didn't have the confidence at that stage to think that would be a possibility. So I knew that I loved talking to people. I knew that I knew quite a lot of people in my network, and I just hadn't. It was so obvious, but it hadn't occurred to me to share some of my own stuff. So mapping it out as far as I could was a case of going, because I launched in January. I was like, right, I'm just going to do till the end of January. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to kind of figure it out as I go. And now I've got a bit more of a rhythm. So I can batch things. And I've actually scheduled some new podcast episodes. So I've got about 15 episodes on my laptop that I need to share. That's another story as well, that are coming out. Also, I've scheduled 15 more. So you're going to have loads of content going forward as well. Number 4, assume it's going to be great, even if you don't know that it is. This came up when I purchased the music. So when I set up, because I know technology and like, what do I start with, what do I use, it can be really stifling and it holds people really still. I get so many questions about that all the time. And I knew that I wanted to have some music, and I feel very passionate about paying artists for their music. So I paid for the license. It's really important. So there was an option when I purchased it of, do you want to purchase the license for, I think it was like 10,000 downloads or 1 million? And the price was, as you can imagine, quite significant in the difference. And I looked up at Matt, and he was like, well, I don't know, is this like going to be a thing? And I was like, I'm going to purchase it for 1 million, because I'm going all in. I'm going to assume that it's going to be good. And when I did that, suddenly in my head, I was serious about it. Like, right, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have an interview every week. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to take action, because this is a thing. This is a thing that's actually happening. And it wasn't so much of an investment that I was like, oh my goodness, like I can't feed my children, and like I'm putting my life on the line, because I don't believe in that either, clearly. But it felt stretchy. It felt like I was like, okay, let's play, let's do this. And again, this is something that comes up a lot in terms of the DMs or the messages that I get. It's people being in this thinking, hoping, dreaming, brainstorming type situation, that you have to have this moment suddenly of like, right, I'm going all in. I'm going to do this. Like this is an actual thing that I'm moving forward with. So that was number 4. Number 5, put yourself in there big time, even though it sometimes takes a while. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I very much hid behind the other people's episodes. I was very much like the host, asking questions. I didn't necessarily feel brave enough to go, here I am, here's content, here's ugly cry lessons, here's learning moments that I've never told anybody before, yet I'm putting it out worldwide. Like, all of that felt really scary. But what can happen if you don't put yourself in there? And of course, do that with boundaries, with respect, with integrity. You know, we don't all want to be like a certain breakfast TV presenter. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. But I'm not in for the like salacious kiss and tell scandals. You know, I had a big row last night. Like, I don't want to do any of that stuff. But you have to put yourself in there, because otherwise what will happen is it will become really mainstream, really interchangeable, really generic, and a bit boring. And again, you might have these fears of like, yeah, but what have I got to say? Like, would anybody be interested in what my point of view is? Like, I don't have anything special. That's the way we go immediately. That's the way I go, that we play small and we go, I haven't got anything to say, and like, I'm not ready, I'm not an expert enough, I've got imposter syndrome, all of this stuff. But if you, if people just say that I sound like another female entrepreneur on the internet, or if I just sound like another person that's got a podcast, I have got serious work to do, because the success that I've had has never been because I've like fallen into line and I've done what everybody else has done as well. So like when I go for acting auditions, I don't play the role of an actor of all being like quite affected, and like I go in as myself, who can act, who can do what they need me to do. And that is the magic of all of your content, whether you do a podcast, whether you're showing up online, whether you've got videos or blogs or things like that. Wherever you can, don't try and follow a template, because it's like you're trying on somebody else's shoes. Of course, take inspiration from various things, notice what works, observe and analyze what connects and what you like in terms of other people's content. But whatever you do, don't assume that you have to be like everybody else, or don't assume doing the same as everybody else will be the easy option, because it isn't, because it has to come from you, and that's what people are going to connect with. Okay, number 6, I had templates and systems from early doors. So what I mean by this is when a guest comes onto my podcast, they know in advance what the scenario is. So they know what to send back to me, what I need, what the process is going to be. And I think that's what I meant, is that because I don't I should have said this at the beginning, I don't earn money directly from the podcast. As in, it's not monetized, I don't have sponsorship. It actually costs me money to make, which is fine. It's a business investment, of course, and it's a choice. But other things do come from it. So it's not only do I enjoy it as a passion project, but I like other things come from it in all manner and shapes and sizes as well. But because it needs this dedication, those templates and systems have to be in place. Otherwise, it just becomes a admin shit show, basically. So wherever you can, if you're thinking about content, even if you're just showing up on here on the regular, what's your system? When are you releasing things? When are you making it real? When are you moving forward with it? Because this is the temptation, especially at times like this. The temptation is to say, I don't feel like it today, it's too much, I don't know what I'm questioning everything, I don't feel ready, I haven't got a full face of makeup on, etc. And one thing that I know is that we more than ever, I'm going into my politics speech now, we more than ever need your voice. All of it, like your version. We cannot just have the same people talking about the same things again and again. And so often I see people shying away from showing up and being visible because of an old story that somebody told them at school. I know I had so many of those things, because I tell you what, if you think that I'm ambitious now, imagine that in like a slightly chubby kind of ginger kid at school who had all this ambition but didn't know what to do with it, didn't know how to move forward with it, and didn't have the internet, lived in a small village and didn't know how to get out and go to London. And my mum actually dropped round my school books the other day, and I just picked the whole lot up and put it in the recycling, because I didn't want it in my life. Like I didn't connect with who that person was. So to go back to those templates and systems, morning, has been really important, because it makes it real. It especially, I've had a baby in the 2 years that I've been running this podcast, and yes, there've definitely been times where the episodes have fallen down a little bit and I've had a break and they've been inconsistent, but that's life as well. But coming back to these solid foundations, these systems, has been great. I've forgiven myself for the mistakes. This is number 7. So whatever your project is, whatever your business, your brand is, it's not going to be perfect all the time. And in the world of Instagram, in the world of everything looking shiny and polished and photo shoot and photoshopped and all of the things, it can be very easy to assume that everything has to be perfect before you get started. But I tell you what, most people, maybe our government included, are making it up as they go along, and they're making bigger decisions. And so even though the temptation is to squirrel around with this thing in the car, and signals coming in, and it will be uploaded as a podcast later as well, I should have said that. So even though the temptation is to go, well, that's not perfect, like I've got to do this and this before it goes out, please stop, because what we do is, when we're waiting all the time for those things, is we're not hearing your voice, we're not hearing your version. And I've come to accept and I don't take it on completely, but I've come to accept what I am doing in the world is helpful to people. So I had recently a episode that I did where it was Emma Harrop, and she wrote about going through a divorce and talked about going through a divorce and having 3 sons, being a single parent, relaunching a business, doing all of the stuff. The amount of DMs that I had after that episode of people going, oh my goodness, that's me. Like, I was in a really difficult relationship for a long time and I've lost my confidence, but hearing Emma and how she's done that, that's monumental to somebody's life. Obviously, I'm not taking credit for all of that, but please just recognize what you have is really important. Even if you might in your head just go, oh, it's just this little thing. It's just, it's just a bit of art, or it's just a bit of it's just this thing that I made, or it's just a bit of writing that nobody sees anyway. Let it breathe. Let it be birthed into the world. Okay, number 8. You can choose how you view what's out there. So guess what? Like with everything, when I started my podcast January 2018, not calling anybody out, but suddenly, because people were seeing that sort of rate of acceleration, there suddenly became a lot of other podcasts that were very similar coming out, and they would maybe invite some of the guests that I'd had on, and they were very similar. But the thing is, nobody is you. And this is the same with, when I work with clients, is people go, yeah, but maybe I'm just another blogger. Maybe I'm just another social media person. Maybe I'm just another coach. Maybe I'm just another parenting expert. Like, what do I have to say anyway? What's my point of difference? Well, your point of difference is you. And I always know that those things, aside from what I do and how I earn my money and all of that sort of stuff, sounds way more salacious than I meant it to, how I earn my money, with my work, my coaching work, all that stuff, is what I'm saying. What I know underneath, though, are those characteristics, that those things that came up and have come up all through my life, of being really tenacious, of being really determined, being really resilient, of having those years and years and still do, of being rejected by the acting industry. I've had a lot of success with it, but I've had a lot of auditions that I've gone to that have not gone well, that I didn't get the job. I've had a lot of really near misses. And this is the thing about thinking about your stuff. Like, what are those characteristics that you bring to the table time and time again? And certainly what happened in those early days with the podcast is suddenly people started to fall off, because they were like, this is hard. This is a logistical nightmare. Oh, I'm not in the iTunes top 100. Maybe I shouldn't do this. And it started to fall off. And that's fine as well. There's things that I've started, I've kind of known, maybe this is not the right fit. I'm not going to do that anymore. But what you can do with all of these things is choose how you consume things. So with podcasts, for me, I choose things that quite often are not around entrepreneurship, but they're other kinds of conversations that really light me up, that really give me ideas. And this is another exercise I can share, that when you're feeling stuck, or when you're feeling like you've run out of ideas or inspiration and you just need a little boost, or to get the creative juices flowing again, go outside of your industry, see what other people are doing. I always get loads of inspiration from things like food brands. So looking at their packaging, what connects, what's this all about? Like, I found this brand the other day, a new sweet brand. And I was just like, oh, that's clever. And then I signed up for their newsletter, and then I just noticed that kind of relationship that they were building. So you can choose how you consume all of this content out there, and you can choose what you do with it in a way. Number 9, you will find your flow. And flow is something that you get by doing it. So people want all their ducks to be in a row, like I mentioned earlier about, mapping it out and getting it all strategic and everything kind of ticked and organized and all the rest of it. That's a really essential part. Strategy, absolutely golden, brilliant. But there is other pieces, like finding your flow, I always ask this question when I'm talking to coaching clients or I'm doing workshops, which are things like, how can you support the tired you? How do you support the overwhelmed you? How do you support the self-doubt you? Because as much as it's important to recognize when you're in flow, when things are going well, when you're in the zone, etc., it's always also really important as well to notice when you need that extra support. And how do I support tired me? I close my laptop and go to bed. Like, I don't push through it, because there's going to be at least one ugly cry by the end of the day. Like, it's just pointless to me. Like, there's no point doing that in that way. So trusting that you will find your flow, and trusting that by moving and progressing and moving forward, that's when you'll get the answers. You don't get the answers by systematizing things. Yes, of course, you get a bit of clarity, you get a bit of headspace, organization is a great thing, but you find your flow by actually moving forward. And number 10, let me just see what's happening with my battery. Oh, you can't see. Okay, I'm going to plug it in anyway, just in case, because let's not lose this. This would be really silly. How is everybody, by the way? Sorry, I've just realised that I've just been talking at you. Nobody's talking back. If you've got any questions, let me know. Okay, here we go. A bit closer. Sorry, but I've got to hold it because we're plugged in. It's a very professional setup here, as you can see. Number 10, you need just more eyes on things. I think the temptation is to create a piece of content or a project or a thing, and to make it like it's a one-time thing. And I've noticed through doing the podcast and you'll have noticed, like, I reshare the episodes because I think what the interviewees have to share is brilliant. But secondly, I love it when I get those messages where people go, oh my goodness, I've just discovered your podcast and you've got 250 episodes on there. Great, I've got a long car journey. I'm going to plug in and I'm going to listen. And I think the temptation is to get stuck in the busyness and to assume once you've done something, like you've ticked it off the list and, it's archived and it's in the back of somewhere. But if you can just think about how you get more eyes on things, it's a really great part of continuing to grow your business and continuing to grow your brand. So say, for example, I do a talk about something, like I was before lockdown, like at MTV, and that was all about goal setting. I would then kind of document that a little bit, and then I would talk about, like, well, here's some other resources on goal setting, free episodes on my podcast, knock yourself out, help yourself, enjoy yourself. So that's really useful in that way, and it keeps joining the dots for people in that way. So those are my 10 things that I've learned. There are many more. If you've got questions, do let me know. Also, I think another bonus thing to share is that integrity has served me well. So with all that good stuff, I've chosen my guests really instinctively, and I've said no a lot, because it didn't feel aligned. And I always work on the basis that if I'm not excited about somebody's email, or if I just feel a bit, I don't know, nonplussed about it, or a bit cross, or a bit like, wow, what is this all about? Then I'm not going to move forward and sit down and have an hour-long conversation. Like, if I don't feel enamored by their email, I'm not going to assume that my audience will in that way. So as you will come to know, all of my guests have been really mixed. They've been, from all walks of life. And that is my mission going forward, is to keep championing those voices. And I'm really grateful to all those guests who have spent a bit of time with me and have come to play, because that's sometimes I don't know these people before they come on, so I've got to build that rapport, and I've got to hope that they feel safe, that they can share, because that's when you get the good stuff. All right, do you want to know the thing that I want to share? It's coming. Okay, because I'm going to read it to you. Oh, hang about, friends. Here we go. Is that going to stay here? So, okay, I'm going to hold it. It's a flashing angle. Okay. I was thinking about something special that I wanted to do. And I was thinking about the summer holidays, and I was thinking about something that I really loved when I was a kid. And I used to go to a lot of week-long things. Did you? There would be and this is way before London prices, you'd pay £5 and somebody, so true. Yeah, well, I'm going to save it anyway. It's there for whenever if you want. So, yes, so I used to do these week-long things, theatre workshops for the week, or my brother would do a tennis thing or whatever. And so I want to run a podcast summer camp. And what that's going to entail is a 2-hour workshop with me on one day, fully recorded. And then to have a week of email support, voice notes, WhatsApp with me. And basically, it's to help you to become a great guest. So I'm going to read this, and you can view it on my website as well. So I'll read it to you, show and tell, all the rest of it. I'm celebrating a milestone, so I'm going to take you behind the scenes and become the guest who is booked for the episode and for future work. It's July 2020, and my podcast has been downloaded. I literally wrote this in my goal book. This is so weird. It's July 2020. My podcast has been downloaded 100,000 times. I've interviewed over 120 excellent people. Aside from the brilliant conversations, the interviewees have gained more clients, sold courses, momentum as part of their book promotion strategy, TV appearances, repeat bookings, expanded their customer base, increased their followings, a connection, an inspiration, offering a shift into possibility, sharing their story with an audience which prompted change for the listener. That could be changed jobs, started a business, increased their prices. According to Ofcom, in September 2019, there were 7.1 million listeners of podcasts in the UK. That had increased by 24% since 2018. Now in 2020, after lockdown life, I know, gauging by my own figures, that number will have hugely increased. Whether or not, and if you need to hear this today, hear it because I'm saying it. Whether or not you think you are an expert, you are. You have so much to share. More people need to know about you. We need your voice. However, it's a skill that needs to be honed. There are so many podcasts where the guest does not connect. And it's a pointless conversation peppered with, kind of it's sort of amazing, if you know what I mean, wow, that blows my head. Anyway, as you can imagine, I get pitched to a lot. You can do the maths. I've got hundreds more pitches than I have recorded. If I've recorded 120 episodes, you can imagine how many didn't get the cut. And so many of them bad, and some of them are the same template or a lazy self-centered DMs, they come through all the time, like, "Hi Nikki, shall I come on your podcast?" It's like, oh, this just feels weird. It's like going on a date where somebody just goes, "Hi, shall we just get in bed?" Weird. Anyway, so generic, so copied and pasted, all saying for your audience when clearly they have no idea who my audience is, as they haven't listened to the podcast or taken the time to research. Being a generous, knowledgeable, warm, considered, and discerning guest expert or contributor is your most amazing marketing tool. And I suspect getting on podcasts or collaborations are on your to-do list. But I bet you haven't done it, because those tasks, you can't quantify them, because getting on podcasts feels too big. Like, what even is that? Like, it's really hard to put on a to-do list. But secondly, that element of being visible can feel so scary that you're not going to want to tick it off the list, because it's going to involve some kind of work, you pushing forward, you considering what it's all about. So this is what I'm sharing. For the first time, I'm sharing a behind-the-scenes peek into the world of podcasting, sharing as the host and as somebody who is regularly invited to be the guest. So I'm going to be sharing with you how to build a wonderful offering, explaining how and why you would be a brilliant fit, even if you have a small business. Secondly, how to present your online offering so you become an absolute yes. Because spoiler alert, the first thing that I do when I'm pitched to is to Google them. You would be maybe amazed not if to see what comes up. Okay, number 3, how to pack your interview with value that will connect with the audience, no matter what the interviewer asked you. So I've had some really successful interviews where the interviewer has been amazing. I've had some terrible ones. But because I've done this work, I know how to turn it around. I know how to come out feeling really good in this experience and sounding good. Okay, how to build a list of conversation starters so you don't get lost in the "I just think positively" or "I just work really hard." Your content needs to be useful. So even when you're thinking like, "I don't even know what I would say," that again suggests there's work to be done. Because if you don't know what to say or how to promote your business or what you're all about, guess what's going to happen when you get on a microphone? Guess what's going to happen when you have a conversation with somebody you don't know? You're going to clam up and you're not going to kind of share it in the best way. But I bet your business and your brand is excellent. You just have to know what you're going to say. Okay, next, how to move past your fears of public speaking, not feeling ready, or the weight of imposter syndrome. How to create impactful call to actions so the audience gains even more value and you build a relationship, a connection, a client. So the thing about podcast interviews is it's a really lovely ego boost. Like, people just go, "Oh my goodness, that felt really great. Oh, I had a lovely time chatting." But also, make your time work for you. Like, some people might need exactly what you have on offer. And think about the call to action, like, where are you sending people afterwards? Next, how to actually do this, how to take it off your to-do list and take the action. This task may be something that you're avoiding because you don't know what to do or it seems too big. And don't worry, I'm going to show you. So what this looks like and where I've got the 20 special gifts today is I'm hosting a workshop which is on Monday the 3rd of August, and I'm going to be sharing all of that sort of stuff. So that in itself is going to provide you with all of that information and help you build your pitch out, really consider who's in your market, where you're going, what you would say, and basically pull together all those answers. And that's a paid for workshop. However, if you're one of the 20 people, you will have me for a free 30-minute session, and secondly, you will have a week of email support with me where you say, can you look at this pitch? Do I sound like a complete twerp? Does this make sense? Does this show what I can do? How do I word the email? What do I need to send? All that good stuff. So there's 20 of those places that are available, because again, there's only one of me and all the rest of it. And from that August the 3rd until the weekend, you will be able to WhatsApp me. You'll be able to send me stuff. You'll be able to say, can you look at this? What do you think? So it has 3 parts. The first is that workshop, which is a paid for workshop. It's 125 quid. But if you are one of those 20, you get that email support, you get that voice note, you get that 30-minute check-in session. So it doesn't just become another one of those things that you're like, I really must do that. This is like your holiday camp week to nail this podcast experience. Because once you're on those podcasts, or even if it's collaborations, it's like being interviewed by your mate on IGTV. In this busy world of content, people need to see you, and you need to know that what you're sharing is full of value. And of course, as I've mentioned before, full of boundaries, full of feeling really good. But there is this temptation to do this like, oh, I just started and I didn't really know what I was doing and all the rest of it. No, this is about turning it around. So you're like, here I am, I'm the expert. This is what I can do. Because when you put that faith and you bet on yourself and you show up as that expert, that's what's going to bring you more clients. That's what's going to make you give you more customers and sales and connection. Because if people are buying into you, they have to know that you know what you're talking about. And I've really realized this actually from my acting background, that whenever I'm doing, like, even though this morning was a bit chaotic with babies and all the rest of it, that whenever I'm doing one of these, I really try and think about it as not a performance, because that sounds contrived, but I'm here to serve, I'm showing up, I'm good to go. And I think sometimes the temptation is people think that things are just a chat, or I'm just doing this little thing on the side, or, I'll just dumb down my business a little bit because I don't know what it is. And this is me going, and if people who are watching this who have worked with me personally, I have an element of pageant mum to me where I'm like, no, you do know what this is. You do. You just need to say it. So that's what that email support is going to be really useful for as well, because it's going to encourage you gently, of course, because I'm not going to shout at people. It's so weird when coaches do that stuff. Like when they shout like swearing words at them, it's just all wrong. I'm going to be there so I can gently encourage you to actually do the thing. That's all you need to do. You just need to do the thing, set it live, email it to people. And again, there's so much mindset stuff that goes into that, where it's like, we're not ready. I don't have a big enough following. I don't do this, and this. And please know, and this is probably not something that I should be proud of, but I have less than 3,000 followers on Instagram. And I've worked with Stylist Magazine. I've worked with MTV, BBC, like so many things. I have a full client list, and that has come from being connected to people. So it's not necessarily all about the numbers. It's about people getting to know you and that engaged following. So there we go. If you want to be one of those 20 people, you and me for a week, like it's a ridiculous offer, to be honest. But I want to do it. I want to give back, and I want more voices out there. I don't want to just see the same generic, boring old quotes. Like, I want you to show up how you're supposed to be, and not keep telling yourself that you're not ready, or you'll do it at some other point. If lockdown has taught us anything, it means that our time is now. Like, we've got to crack on with things, because everything is unknown. And June and July, like I did my accounting from the middle of June to the middle of July, has been my best month in 3 years. And we're in the middle of a pandemic. You wouldn't think that. My stats have gone crazy on my podcast. My stats on my website have. Because people are thinking, if I don't do this now, when am I going to do it? Like, why am I waiting until my scary age or this sort of thing? I mean, of course, there's sometimes a better time. Like, if you'd asked me this time last year to get started on something, I was hot and sweaty. I was about to have a baby. I was not like working on my SEO, however appealing that was. But what I'm going to be teaching you in this and what I'm going to be supporting you with is going to work whether you want to go on podcasts, whether you want to be interviewed, but it's just nailing down that message of who are you, what are you here to do, how can people buy from you, how can they do that? We can't just sit behind a lovely graphic on Instagram. So thank you for spending some time with me today. If you want to grab one of the 20 spots, I'm after this, just to let you know, I'm saving it on here, I'm uploading it as a podcast, and I'm sending it to my newsletter. So if you want one, grab one. And it's under nikkiraby.com/podcast summer camp. I would like to print jumpers for everybody as well. That would be amazing. And people can bring good sandwiches, like we're all going to camp. But again, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for all your support, whether you're watching live, the replay, all that good stuff. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to bits. And it just goes to show, sometimes listen to that instinct, trust that idea, move forward, take big action. And exciting things. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, for listening, and I'll see you again very soon. And that link, once again, nikkiraby.com/podcast summer camp. It's under the live events. I'll see you in a bit. Thank you.